All right, y'all, welcome to another edition of RSG One Mic. And I usually do all kind of opening and everything else, but I'm not going to do it. Stop the presses. Stop. We got somebody who's back in the building. We just got to just get right into it because he's here. Our man Hank, we know that you've been away through some of the it's been killing you. But you know, I'm gonna stop everything else and just jump right to you, man. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man, and I apologize for you fellas for not being there the last couple of weeks, but I've had to really get myself together. I've had to really work hard. You know, I got a workout from the Brooklyn Nets. They wanted another forward center, you know, and I told them I still had it since they were signing everybody. I went on and threw my hat in the ring and see how I would do it. I was looking for them to give me a call back. So since they didn't call me back, I figured I might as well come on back to the show, dog. But I had to get right. It's been a minute. So, but I missed you guys.
So they thought you were Granville Waiters, huh?
They did, you know. And
Granville Waiters.
My man passed away. They thought they had seen a ghost when I walked in the door.
Yes.
It was like, oh, good Lord, I thought he was gone. But I said, no. I said, but I'm out of Western Michigan, and I think I got it. So, but they said, no, Cat, your eligibility had run out. I said, I thought this was the pros. They said, exactly. So you know, but you know, I'm back. You know, in all seriousness, you know, you guys know I had some things I had to take care of on the sidelines, but I'm back, and I'm looking forward to fellowshipping with you fellas, and the folks out there listening. It's great to be back with you all.
Well, we brought the game changer off the bench, and you know, he went for 25 coming off the bench. He came out shooting. You know,
Ricky Pierce.
Yeah, he came out like Ricky Pierce. He came out like Crawford. He was in his bag quickly, just loading up quickly. But we're glad to have you back, and you know, we'll mix him back into this as well. But it's good to have you back in the house.
Yes, sir.
And then we got the man C Hamp, the Hammer, who's just been blowing up my damn messages on there, going about everything, buzzing me up. I hate to have my phone in my pocket. It's like I'm trying to do the stanky leg, and I'm not trying to because it's buzzing with all these text messages going.
I called you about some serious business today, brother.
Yeah, then he called me about some serious business today. I picked that phone up. I was like, because normally, you got to pick it up.
When you guys are doing all of that, listen, because I'm gonna have Hampton. I'm gonna start to bill you for my minutes and for my memory. Because I the other day I was busy. I looked at my phone. I had over 300 messages. I ain't talking to nobody. I'm like, what y'all really talking about? This is going on. I said, I had to go buy me another pair of eyeglasses just so I could read all of those things. I felt like I was reading War and Peace. I'm like, what y'all got going on for real?
I mean, these brothers and these two cats right here.
They be fat mouthing, don't they?
Oh my goodness. I love them though. They have me cracking up on a couple of things. Well, how you doing, Hammer? How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. I got my first vaccine shot, so feel really good. But as I told you though, I'm disappointed. Well, I'm concerned, I should say, fair word, because there are only 2 African Americans in Janesville, Rock County, and both of them are Minnesotans. I know the other sister, so you might know Janae Winston's her name, but yeah, so you're familiar, but yeah, everyone else. So I'm really concerned because I mean, Rock County's got a huge, with Beloit's a huge African population. So, in talking to Dr. Rose, we've got a program we gonna pull out under by men. I'll download with you probably afterwards. You got time, but basically we go into the community because we gotta get to herd immunity vaccination style, not the other style. The other style herd immunity that's not acceptable. But no, I'm doing great, man. Feel well. Blessed, like I said before. I'm killing RSG. Y'all at RSG.
Yeah, you hold it down for the crew because we need to keep that belt in house. So I ain't mad at you because the rest of us just fell off. So you are a God. You are a guiding light. You are one shining moment because we ain't got any shining moments in this thing.
Wish I could sing like Luther, but I can't. So, I can't sing like Luther. But yeah.
I know. So we're glad to have you. It's good to have you here again, brother, tonight. And then we got the youngin, Darnell Kirkland Jr., boy, who is finding his voice here in the sports landscape. I'm just proud. I'm proud of this cat, where he's been coming from. And he's been killing me, but I'm loving him. How you doing, youngin?
I'm always doing great, man. I don't got bad day. I don't have bad days. And win or we learn, man. That's the way I take it, one day at a time.
Yeah, one day at a time. We had the he had the phrase of the show last. What's your philosophy?
Wait.
You said on the last show. You said you got a philosophy. You win some. What'd you say?
Oh yeah, I said. Wait. I don't know what you talk. You said the last episode.
Yeah, the last episode. You said you had a philosophy. You win some, you lose something. You had a response to Hammer, something like that. I highlighted it. You got to, if you're gonna own it. I done highlighted it. You said I win some. You said I win some, I lose some. I'm gonna win some. I'm gonna be right sometimes. Oh yeah.
I know what you're talking about. We was talking about Andrew Thomas. I remember because I said I have our philosophy and I stick to it. That's the thing. Yeah. When I grade these players, I have like these like criteria that I go by when I scout players. Hammer, he just he say he got like he says like he goes by traits over the skill set over the polish. He said polish doesn't matter when you get to the NFL. But then he'll say something like Patrick Surtain is the number one corner, and I'm like
polish and skill. He's polish and skill.
Also, you contradict
polish and skill.
If the traits,
I'm fluid. I'm fluid in my analysis. I'm fluid. I'm fluid. Nobody talking about Mac Jones going top 3. So I'm fluid. So people are fluid, man.
Oh my goodness.
Let me tell you something, youngin. As you get older, okay. Yeah. I'm gonna give you a little bit of advice right here, right now, okay. You can say somebody can contradict yourself. Look them straight in the face, say, I reserve the right to change my mind. And be done with it.
Fluidity, precisely, fluidity.
And be done with it.
Woo. So we're gonna hear more of this as we go. This show is gonna have a lot more of this. All right, in the open mic, we'll get going in the open mic here. Our staple right now in the open mic is that we want to know for each of these guys what's on your sports back page. What are those sports topics that are on your back page? You're the editor. You're in charge of your back page. What's on your back page? Hammer, what's on your back page?
It's got to be about Watson again, man, because as we talked about kind of before the show, you got 19 lawsuits and no police contacts. And people talking about how he's trying to delete Instagram messages, which you can get there encrypted, you can get them. So deleting them, they're not gonna go away. And then also, look at the fact, if he were not in this trouble, what would happen to the draft right now? Would the 49ers be trading up for, Mac Jones? They would be, he's a perfect fit for the Niners or the Jets as well, or Miami. So there are a lot of teams really that now Miami seems to be all in with Tua. Even I heard the Eagles were part of the mix. They obviously aren't because they traded down and they got Joe Flacco to back up. So yeah, he's really changed NFL as far as it goes. I just pray for the brother. Again, like I said, there's no police reports. You got all these lawsuits. So, I want to get into a legal lesson here, but, lawsuits are more likely than not 50% plus. So they're not, beyond reasonable doubt. So, these young brothers just have to watch out. Hey, you made enough money. You go buy you a masseuse to come to your crib with cameras around so nobody can say nothing about you did something. And again, if he's guilty or if he did something, but he's really changed the whole landscape. You look at all the places he was supposed to go to, and even my crazy Bears thought they might have a chance and they got cast in Chicago and they're talking about Ryan Pace had a secret file. Come on, man. Ain't no secret file. Those ditto heads on radio. So that's the back page. And I also would say too, 17-game season is just huge. It's huge in a lot of ways because it's gonna, if you look at as far as player durability, it's gonna cut off probably the average year of player by a year, I would say, just by the contact and also the money. And you look at the new deal really starting to show that cable's starting to phase away. So I think really that deal and then Chiefs Packers, enough said, that's going to be That's gonna be a masterpiece. So in KC. So yeah, NFL's doing their thing as usual. New contract, another game, but the player's gonna suffer. The average player not gonna play long. So like they do anyway. So yeah. So.
All right, so that's what's on your back page. Hank, what's on your back page?
Well, Hammer took one of mine with this Deshaun Watson thing. This thing has bothered me a lot, really. Because I'm just going to say a little bit about that. It's just that because usually you see something like that sort of personality early on with an individual. It don't all of a sudden come up when you're trying to get a new contract or you could go somewhere else. So I've got a real problem with how that thing is panned out. And it's a shame that, a young man of his character, if there's truth to it, but if there's no truth to it, and it's another one of these conspiracy things to just wreck another young Black athlete or just entertain or whatever, it troubles me. But now for me, my front page it's got to be opening day, man. Baseball starts back this week. Last year we didn't get any baseball till 3-4 months down the road, and it was just COVID this and COVID that. So, for me, it's got to be opening day of baseball when baseball is supposed to be ready to be played in the early spring. And that's the one thing. Now, my side note is going to also be the return of AJ Hinch. Oddly enough, he's here with my Detroit Tigers, but he returns back after as Hammer was at a debacle in Houston.
That's my Stanford brother, though. Leave him alone. That's my Stanford brother. He made a mistake.
Yeah,
he deserves retribution. He made a mistake.
Which he absolutely admitted to. That he didn't handle that. But the thing is going to be is how is he going to be received as the manager of the Houston Astros, now with the Detroit Tigers. Now, he could probably hide himself a little bit because the Tigers are not expected to be very good this year. But he returns to baseball. And what kind of questions are going to be asked of him, going forward now that he's back with a major league team. So those are things that are on my front page.
Yeah, and this is why I want to do this segment, because as you can probably hear, listeners and witness, it really allows for each of these guys to pull on things that are important to them. And we haven't even talked about baseball, but it's right here around the corner with so many of these other things that have been happening right now. But baseball is right here, ready to go. And we're about to open up, and in some places we're going to start to see fans as well. And so I'm glad you brought the baseball piece into this, and hopefully we'll have an episode of Inside the Park with you and Hammer here pretty soon, and build into the system that we're putting together. We're going to be able to start putting these productions out a little bit faster and see these guys make this stuff happen sooner. We're going to end the segment on this side with the youngin. What's on your back page? Maybe I'll come afterward, but what's on your back page, brother? I know you got something up your sleeve.
All right, so we got college football, not college, more the NFL and the things around the draft. You have the 49ers trading up and getting that third spot. You have the Dolphins trading back and then trading back up to get in the sixth spot. And when they also maintain 2 picks in the first round, you have Zach Wilson's pro day. You had Justin Fields' pro day today. And we saw something, I never really put a whole bunch of stock into what I call the underwear Olympics, or the combine stuff, the pro day stuff. But something that is interesting is the competition factor. A lot of it is like a marketing thing with the schools, putting the best show on for their guys. But we saw this also with J.C. Horn and Patrick Surtain. Patrick Surtain had his pro day. He showed out. And then when J.C. Horn had his pro day, Patrick Surtain, he put up 18 reps on the bench press. And then J.C. Horn came out in his pro day, he hit 19. He might have only been able to do 18, but that competitive factor in his mind was like, Surtain hit 18, I gotta do it. You know what I'm saying? And we saw the same thing with Justin Fields today. We saw Zach Wilson just put on the show, having all kinds of creative scenarios with platforms and his ability to throw the ball. And we saw a throw today from Justin Fields that was exactly scripted, just like Zach Wilson's throw. He rolled to his left and he threw a ball like 60 plus yards on the money, rolling to his left to the end zone. And it was almost, you could see it was almost like him saying in his mind that you guys have Zach Wilson in front of me, but there's nothing he can do that I can't do. It's that kind of competitive thing. But one thing I want to bring up is you brought the text chain we have earlier with the group chat, and one thing Hammer did say was that Justin Fields he has horrible mechanics. In his words, he said he has horrible mechanics.
He does.
And he throws like Tim
Tebow. That's what he throws like during games. I mean, he looked
all
great.
Right, all right, so
not under pressure today, but
all right, so if we are gonna talk about horrible mechanics, we have to first know what good mechanics are. So let me show you what good mechanics look like. Here we have Drew Brees, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He is known for his mechanics.
Proper mechanics.
You see the angle his arms at. This is called having the L as well, the angle of your elbow. He doesn't dip the ball too far. He has a tight, quick release. You see how he brings it through? His hip, his arm should be chasing the hip. That's what they call it. He throws his hip out in front. This is slow motion. I want to see the watch right here. This posture, slightly above shoulder width apart. All right. Now let's get this out of here. Justin Fields.
You're not showing Indiana tape. I see that.
I'm showing him throwing.
Yeah, you're not showing Indiana tape. You're not showing Indiana tape.
I'm okay. I'm showing him throwing the football. Watch him throw the football.
I saw that pass, but it wasn't consistent. Look at the Indiana game. It was horrific.
The result.
He probably lost millions of dollars in that game. I saw that game in its entirety. He looked like Tim Tebow in that game. That's what he looked like. So
you're talking about the mechanics. Let me show you Tim Tebow. Look where he releases the ball.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pause it.
No, I know it's a high release. I know what I'm talking about. High release.
It's not a high release. Look at it. Look at where the I'm trying to get it paused at the right spot.
Okay, yeah, I see it under
to his hip. The ball was at his hip when at the lowest point, right?
But it's labored though. If you look at his labor.
Let's compare Justin Fields throwing motion to Trevor Lawrence.
Justin Fields throwing mechanics kind of side by side, okay? Not necessarily side by side, but clip to clip. So we're going to be talking about some of the consistencies they have and some of the differences that they have in their motions that affect their throwing mechanics, okay? But also, fellas, if you're a quarterback and you want to send me your throwing mechanics for a breakdown, just like I do on this page, check out that very first link.
Just to give credit where credit is due, this guy's name is First Down.
Who's this, John Beck or something like that? Who's this?
Website, have the opportunity to
John Beck or what? John Beck or
12 hours of content on how to
John Beck is, don't you?
That very first link in the description. If you want me
Zach
to
Wilson's coach,
like how I do
BYU quarterback,
second rounder. Soon again, very first link in the description. Let's get started. So first things first, let's watch both of these clips full speed. Then we'll break it down. So Lawrence has a little bit of a lean out of his throw, a little bit, not a lot. We're going to be discussing why he does that. And Fields has a very good motion, very clean release. He's able to get this thing to come over the top, nice and easy for him. So now, when Lawrence goes to throw, the one main consistency that everybody has, both of these guys have, is that when their front foot gets down, their front shoulder is closed. And what do I mean by that? Is that they're not spreading their chest. They're not lifting the ball.
Hank knows from baseball. He taught me this when I was
their front arms at 90 and they're not putting up their front shoulder as their front foot. Part of throwing with velocity, getting more pop on the ball is all about torque. So if you get that front foot down and have that front shoulder closed, your hip drive, this external rotation is what gets velocity on the ball for you, right? So they're nice and closed. They have this nice, good backstroke. Lawrence gets to a pretty good L right here. It does not have to be a perfect L for all the younger quarterbacks out there. It does not have to be straight perfect going back. Just some kind of backstroke, right? Now, the issue here, it starts in Lawrence's lower half, right? So when Lawrence goes to throw, I want you to see how like kind of his front leg, you see how the weight is still kind of shifted? That weight never really transfers to the outside part of his leg like we're going to see with Fields. So just bear with me on this when we go to Fields' throwing mechanics, because you see how much more weight he's able to transfer from his lower half. Because now when you see how he doesn't transfer as much weight and that weight's still kind of locked on that front foot, his front foot's very heavy. That front
You told me you take Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence.
I'm comparing the throwing motion. You're talking
again, but it's apples and oranges.
Talking about mechanics.
Play the tape. Play in the air tape.
Let's get the Fields. Let's get the Fields real quick. So we go.
Okay, let's get the Fields.
And you're going to see what I'm talking about here. So when he drops back to go throw, I want you to see how, again, that front foot gets down. Where
watch how the ball never gets below his sternum.
Right? And again, I point these things out.
This is not an elongated motion.
Oh, they both do that. I should probably try to incorporate that into my game. So now, front shoulders closed. Now I want you to see how much weight he's able to get to that front foot. You see how that weight is on his front leg? I know you can't really see his feet. That weight doesn't look like it's shifted backwards. That weight looks like it's getting to that outside part of his leg. So look at how well his front hip opens up. He doesn't have that coil where his body like kind of leans out of there with his upper half, right? That front hip is able to rotate through and he's able to get his hips parallel to the throw and he stays in this nice square position. Now you see how much cleaner of like a release point that
is. All right, we've done enough of this.
I think we're done here. But
I'll say one thing. In the words of Allen Iverson, it's practice. Okay, that's what it is. It's practice.
Okay.
Show me the game. It's practice. Show me the game. I showed you the clip of the game. It's practice. Okay? It's practice.
What part of Tim Tebow's delivery reminds you of Justin Fields?
Tim Tebow threw the ball like a
I want to see Fields. I want to see that Indiana tape. You ain't playing the Indiana tape because you know it's gonna look right.
But that's a bad game versus a bad release.
I told you,
all quarterbacks have a bad game.
The Bears. I love him sit down the Bears. So don't get me wrong. I think he's a really good quarterback. He's got some issues. I think during games, if Kyle Shanahan picks him a step back Jones.
Okay, just for his edification, let's go. I do have the Indiana game. Where we at?
Can I just say this? Listen, let me say this, okay?
I ain't come back for this.
Listen, let me say this. When regardless of what you're talking about, okay? His mechanic that changes when you got a 400-pounder coming out.
Okay, look at this. This is the Indiana game. This is the Indiana game right here. Like the same game you're talking about. Where is the elongated motion?
That interception that you ain't showing. That interception you ain't showing.
But Drew Brees throws interception.
Again, I got mad. You understand? You understand, Darnell? I don't argue with people I don't respect. I respect you. You know, but again, like I said before, we're gonna have our Minecraft.
He brought out, if it doesn't fit, you must quit.
And like I said before, I know I'm not you, but I'm gonna give the old school draft version. It's gonna be like McShay versus Kiper, or Matt Miller versus Kiper, and then I'm Kiper.
What you saying is coming?
You McShay. So
what you saying
let's bring, like I said, let's have the mock draft.
You didn't see him having
Jalen Phillips balled out.
You did not see him have poor mechanics. What you saw him have was a slow processor, right? Because he was seeing things in front of him that slowed him down. Like for instance, on the interception when they were in cover 3, there was in a fire zone, right? Yeah. They ran a dagger concept, which is supposed to be a 3-beater. The seam was wide open. He didn't see it because the rush was right here, and he processed it. He processed it late. He threw the ball about 3 beats late, and it was an interception. Why? Because he processed it late. It was not because his mechanics were so bad that he literally couldn't throw the ball. It's because he didn't see it. If you said,
all right, this is good stuff for y'all. I'm gonna say this.
Like I said, let's get a draft.
What we do? We set up the draft show. Hey, we set up the draft show.
I only throw about.
This is gonna be.
Let's do a draft show. Yeah,
we're gonna do a draft show now.
Balled out yesterday. I got him over Rousseau now. I'm sold.
You see, now you change it. Now you take you said.
Hey, I just see him.
Now you change.
I was stunned by Jalen Phillips, man. I saw Jalen Phillips. I was like, wow. I mean, like I said, I'm fluid. I'm not a flip flopper.
Oh
if I see different
goodness.
data, if you see different data, you're gonna change your mind, right? Right.
How many times have you seen Jalen Phillips play?
I've seen him play probably a couple times. Yeah.
How many times have you seen?
I don't watch football like you. I've never lied about that. I watch NFL mostly. I don't watch college. I know I watch Badger games.
All right. We gonna cut. We gonna cut. Hammer.
Hank was like be quiet. So I'm gonna be quiet.
We gonna keep it. We gonna keep it moving. Y'all brought it out. Y'all don't fed the fire. This was a good.
Oh yeah, they love this though. The fans love this.
Y'all done did film work. So
yeah, I know.
I mean, he done broke down. He done did film work. I'm sitting here like, I said, who you playing next?
I have a team. He be my deputy GM. I'm the GM. He be my deputy GM.
That's right.
I'm the GM.
Let's get into the cipher, y'all.
That's a great team, Darnell.
Well, we gonna get into the cipher, y'all.
Great team.
The cipher is about they're playing basketball. It's about basketball right now. We will get in here, and I want to start with ladies first. You know, one of the things that we saw was we saw the no call the no call that broke Twitter. We watched that game last night. Baylor, UConn really should have been a Final Four matchup, but we got it in an Elite Eight matchup. And those women were balling, but it all came down to the final play. When Carrington was going to the hoop and got the double foul, but no call. And then everything just went crazy a little bit on that. But I don't know if y'all had a chance to watch the game or check it out, see it down the stretch. But it was one of the better games I've watched all year. And Didi Richards, was sad to see her go down with the hamstring injury. She's best defensive player in the country. And then, had her playing almost like a point forward. So she was really the heart and soul of that Baylor team. And she went down when they had a big lead. And then, them youngest for UConn went on a run. And then it was nip and tucked out the stretch with one possession and with a chance to win. And it didn't happen. But for you guys who saw was it a foul? Or was it a foul that should have been called? Hey, what did you get a chance to see it? Was it a foul or should it?
I did not get a chance to see it, but I want to just really talk about the women's game from another local perspective, because Baylor played UConn, and it very well could have been the women Wolverines. The University of Michigan took that Baylor team to overtime before they lost, but it was the first time that they have ever been to the Sweet 16. Okay. And they've got a phenomenal young player on the University of Michigan's team. Her name escapes me right now, so forgive me. But just a simple.
There
you go. And I said,
and Brown. Yep. And Brown.
Yes, I mean the thing about it is, I had to bring that up simply because it had never happened before. Not to take away from, because you're going to see a UConn and a Baylor matchup all the time. Gino just got him he's got him a machine every year, So, but I'm just saying that just for you got the sport growing. You've got teams now that we haven't heard of before that's starting to emerge. And I think that's the big deal. That's going to start to really pique the interest of the casual fan. All right. And I think it makes a big deal, especially this time of year with the men's tournament being where it is. When you got a school like University of Michigan, another Big Ten school, getting to the Sweet 16 and making noise. I didn't get a chance to see it last night, unfortunately, but if the call went for UConn, I'm not surprised.
All right, Amber, did you get a chance to see the?
Yeah, I saw it. It was a foul. It's poetic justice because of Kim Mulkey's mess. Her mess talking about not wearing masks. She should go. She should go. Baylor administration get rid of her today.
Oh my God.
And sad.
Now I did see that.
I grew up with Kim Mulkey. I remember when I was a little kid. I love me some Kim Mulkey. I remember seeing girls play basketball. She get ball, but she ain't got no common sense at all. Talking about don't test. And we got 4 surge coming on. she needed to go with the.
I think part of the problem was, did you see her trying to get the mask on?
They ain't trying. I mean, look at Scott Drew. Scott Drew ain't put his mask like a necklace. Him and Lon Kruger, their masks like necklaces. They need to wear them.
Yeah,
I mean, like, it's a joke.
Yeah, I mean, Gina was officially wearing a chin strap because that's all it was.
Yeah, it's a chin strap.
It's just a chin strap for her. Yeah, like I've not seen
it was a terrible call. Like I said before, I felt bad until she opened up her mouth, and I was like, "Oh no, that's poetic justice now." It's good. So yeah, all right. She deserves.
Youngin, did you see the play?
Yeah, I did, but it seemed like they was letting them play a lot. It was a real physical game, but the last play reminded me of a couple years ago, or the last March Madness that we had. Remember the Kyle Guy play? In the regulation, he took the three free throws off the 3-pointer, and the rest it almost seemed like they remembered that, and they was like, I remember the backlash I got from that, and I'm just gonna swallow my whistle and let it play out in the court. But either way, hey, damn if you do, damn if you don't. But that still shot is still crazy. I mean, she got fouled 2 or 3 times on the same play.
On the same play.
Didn't call neither one of them. So
yeah. And she had her teammate wide open, you know, the player of the year, Kennedy Smith, underneath wide open. She could have dumped it off for the layup, but yeah, she took 2 on 2 on the chin. And then Moki, the scene of watching her trying to fix that mask as she was trying, it confused me. I didn't know a mask could be contorted the way she tried to get it. I mean, she had a mask that was too big. It was just like, and then she just said, I got pictures. She's like, you gotta put up there. I said, woo, she was hot on that one. But one of the things about it is, you know, when you think about UConn having their 13 straight Final Four, you know, appearance, which is amazing. Are they? You can make an argument for the greatest, you know, basketball program, either men or women of all time. Can't you make that argument with UConn?
Yeah. I mean, UCLA, you could say, but yeah, I mean, definitely with UConn, the fact that you have more expanded field, women, and it was more contracted in the time UCLA made their run. But no, they're definitely, as far as programs, men's or women's, best program, there's no question. I mean, just keeps on churning them out. It's unbelievable. So, and he even got COVID. You know, thank goodness he recovered, and he just bringing it. So it's Gino. So. It's always, I mean, restocking every year. So freshman ball, you know. So yeah, so it just you look at the players he brought in there who are in WNBA or just icons. So it's unbelievable. So yeah, and just knowing I got family in Connecticut, that's the game. In Connecticut, man, it's over the Knicks, it's over the Jets, it's UConn women's basketball is like it's like the Packer game here. Like everything stops. In Bridgeport, where my people from, when UConn women play.
Hank, what are they up there? One of those greatest basketball programs ever?
Well, you got to ask yourself, because before he was UConn, it was Pat Summitt and Tennessee Volunteers, and they was considered one of the greatest women's basketball juggernauts there ever was. And then there was a few years in there when Pat Summitt was alive, when her and Gino was going back to back, and those were some heavyweight shots. I think that if they continue, this is a hard question for me to answer, because it was to me, it seemed like it was a lot easier to dominate the women's game, because you could just get some of the best to all go to the same school. Mm-hmm. Then you may have a woman here, a woman there on these other teams that could dominate, you know, like a Brittany Griner could dominate for a year or two, but UConn was able to get everybody else, and they had this coaching staff and everything. But I think that if they continue to do this, and I know that's not a fair thing to say, but you have to look at the total landscape. The landscape now is starting to even out a little bit, and let's just face it. You didn't have an even landscape for years in the women's game, and now it's starting to even out a little bit. So you can't take nothing away with what Gino Auriemma has done with the UConn women's basketball program. It has been a phenomenal program. It's the greatest. It's you still have it's getting away from the big fish, little pond mentality. But I don't want to take nothing away from him, but the competition was just a handful of teams, and now you start to get to other teams starting to show it. If it becomes more consistent, you know. But to me, he is as much of a trailblazer in the women's game as Pat Summitt was.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about 11 national championships, 13 Final Four appearances. I mean, it's a hard thing. I always, Marcus and I talk a lot about this, but I think the women's game is where the men's game was in terms of that balanced out competition, probably in the early mid 80s. You know, as you start to make that transition, Big East start to come on, you start to diversify a little bit, you know, following kind of the, you know, Indiana State and Michigan State. And then, you know, you start to see these other programs begin to blossom with the creation of Big East. Now, I think you're seeing some of that same effect happening. And when you look at the AAU levels, I mean, you go look at the competitions at these AAU levels with the women, it's incredible basketball you're watching at that level coming up. Youngin, where do you put this UConn team around? And just
I put them right up there with UCLA. I got to push back on what Hank said a little bit as far as it's different than the men's game because you can get you could recruit the girls to all go to one school. But we saw in the men's side, there was a year when Zion Williamson, Cam Reddish, RJ Barrett, you know, that's 1, 3, 5 in the same recruiting class, all went to one school. And you saw the same thing with Kentucky with DeMarcus Cousins, John Wall, Eric Bledsoe, you know what I'm saying? Also you saw Kentucky, Karl Anthony Towns, Devin Booker, Tyler Ulis. I mean, you can stack talent up in the college game as well. And then other programs like, you know, like Florida, Mississippi, like the other schools in your conference that are not going to have the same amount of talent. I think that works.
You make him a point for me though. You make him a point for me. In the women's game, you can stack it at that UConn level, and then you might get a girl here or there, a woman here or there that could go to these other programs. But you got more blue bloods in the men's game. You're starting to get that. You're starting to transition that now in the women's game. But you got more blue bloods in the men's game that historically could get a couple of 5 stars, 6 stars. That's when you just mentioned them. You mentioned your North Carolinas, your Kentuckys, your Dukes, and you can go on from there. You know, back in the day, where you just Indianas or those schools that UCLA that could just constantly recruit. Okay, that made the men's competition a little bit more stiffer to get there year in and year out. The women's game is starting to get there now. Okay, but beforehand, you could have one program just dominate that. So you made my point for me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
We still got Baylor, South Carolina, you know, some teams coming up. Well, Tennessee has always been a blue blood in the girls' game, women's game. But yeah,
and I want to say this, and I was watching last night, and I asked this on the rundown, but is Paige Becker like the women's version of KD? Is it she talk and handle? She pull up, it got funky in her game, and I like the spirituality she shows in her post-game competition. But this young lady is no joke. I mean, just she got some baller. She got some range. Darnell, see you over to shake your head. What's going on?
No. She can hoop, but she ain't no doggone Kevin Durant. Come on, stop lying to yourself.
Man, she got range. Look at her range.
I ain't see her do one hang dribble crossover on nobody. She ain't dunk on nobody. She ain't no Kevin Durant.
She not gonna dunk. She might not dunk on anybody, but she's doing all the other pieces.
No, she's not. She can shoot.
You start getting them squats and she might dunk on you.
He's tall and he can shoot. He ain't no Kevin Durant.
Come on, don't lose, don't let your biases get up in here. Come on.
It ain't biased. We can pull up film a page and then
we're not gonna do that right now. We'll come back to that later. We'll do that later.
You got a computer ban.
I'm about to reduce this share over here, so you can't share screen right now. You done got carried away with your telestrator.
I'm telling you,
you know,
you're going to film on everything.
I know. We might have to just do a show called the Film Room.
Film Room
up in there, but I love her game. I love her game, even though you hating on her. That's all. All right. the men's game is we about to lock in the final spot on this Final Four right now.
Blue Bear win too. Your Blue Bear win.
So we got Baylor, we got Houston, and who else we got over here?
Gonzaga.
And Gonzaga. Well, I didn't want to even say that. Mark Few. I was like, I should just go with that. And then we're waiting on Michigan or UCLA as well. Whew, that's going to be quite a final. Houston coming back. Ain't been back since Five Slamma Jamma. They up in there trying to do that. The Zags are trying to make history up in here. Baylor ain't been there since
50.
What the Underground Railroad? Would you say the Underground Railroad?
Yeah, 1950. 71 years. Yeah.
Baylor was. What's going on? So it makes it for interesting finals right now. Hammer's probably close. If Michigan wins, you got all four, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So how y'all feeling about these finals? Y'all think the Zags gonna mess around and do what they're gonna do? Are they?
Oh yeah. You saw
I think they're closing out. I think they're closing out.
Suggs got it in, man. You saw him tonight. He got it in. I mean, I'm like Barkley. I mean, I know Kate Cunningham's gonna go number one, but I don't know. Like I said, I might take Suggs, man. He's like a quarterback, like in a point guard's body. So yeah, I know. I mean, he is a core. He did play quarterback in high school. Yeah. So
Terrell Suggs' cousin.
Yeah, I know it's Terrell Suggs' cousin too. Yeah, I know that. Yeah. So, and from Minnesota, yeah. But bottom line is that that Gonzaga team is special, man. Special. The Baylor team is special. We got about. Yeah, I give that man Mitchell. Yeah. Okay. I woke up. I jumped out of my seat last night. I ain't gonna lie. So. You're a little histrionic about your players sometimes, but that's how the brother get down. I was like, okay, well.
No, here's no problem with my comparisons. When I bring up a name, I'm not comparing the whole player. I compare.
You should qualify that, man, because you should be bringing D Wade in a sense.
I compare specific things. When I said Davion Mitchell has a D Wade like burst or first step, I'm not saying he's going to be a 9-time All-Star going to the Hall of Fame. I didn't say all that. All I said is he has the first step that's kind of like Wade. He whenever he wants to go right to left, he's getting past.
I saw. I haven't watched much basketball this year, but I saw him. I think, like I said, he ain't gonna be 15 in the draft. He's gonna be 10 or higher. There ain't no way 15. He ain't slipping that low. So because that dude can ball. But like I said, it just rubbed me the wrong way because I remember seeing a young man named Russell Westbrook, and I saw him glide, do a first step, and I said to myself, like, why is this brother playing in the game? Why is he in the NBA? Like, he needs to get off the bench and go home and get ready for the draft. These cats can't even. I saw him do a move on a cat. I'm like, this is unfair. I mean, I was just like, this is unfair, man. It's unfair. He just showed the burst. He made Mitchell look slow. It was amazing. So, but and I looked at Russell Westbrook. I'm like, that brother needs to stop right now. He might blow his knee out. Stop. Go home and get ready for the draft. He's gonna be a superstar player, which he is. You saw how he balled out last night. So yeah. So, but that he's special. Yeah, ain't a lie. So yeah. So.
And so, even in the midst of this, we got some movement in the coaching ranks. We got Shaka going back to Wisconsin. Got Mike Woodson going back to Indiana. Are these good moves for anybody with this?
No.
All right. I guess.
I'm glad black two brothers got employed. I'm glad about that. I'm always looking for black employment, but Shaka, like I said, first of all, he's gonna kill our recruiting. Oh my goodness. And it'll be like good. I mean, we're not talking about the Shaka Smart 2010. We're talking about the Shaka Smart 2021, who lost to Abilene Christian. Cats who couldn't even get a walk-on at Texas. They would try a walk-on, they'd be like, nah, man, that's okay. I mean, so
I think Shaka's going back to it. I think Shaka's going back to his roots. So I think
Shaka got a big job, and we said again though. I mean,
yeah, but
tournament games at Marquette, right?
Yeah, and Texas, he just won the Big 12 tournament. So
that don't mean nothing. That's like
Big 12 tournament, Big 12 tournament.
Big 10 tournament. So what?
Winning the Big 10 tournament means something. Those mean things.
It mean nothing this year.
It meant something. It does mean something this year. Now, it means something. It means something when you do that. Those are still accomplishments. The only one. Yeah, I mean,
guy from Cleveland.
He's only can't trust it. He's only can't trust it, Les, but don't lose your mind.
We talking about
don't lose your mind. Don't lose your mind. Chips. Yeah, we talk about chips. But how many coaches? How many coaches in that conversation? Everybody else is building towards it, man. Everybody else is building up towards it. You just gotta find what he trying to realize is he saw Mark Few over there. He realized I'm just gonna go home and do it like I want to do.
No, but Marquette
saw Jay. He saw Jay Wright. He saw
Marquette,
and he said, "I'm gonna do it like Jay Wright."
That's a bad analogy, D. Wells, because Gonzaga is what else is in Spokane?
Marquette's got talent. Marquette had a run. Talent.
There's other things in
Milwaukee. Buzz got talent, but it don't matter. But Buzz, they were watching when Buzz was coach.
Gonzaga's the only game.
When Wes Matthews was there, were people watching Marquette?
Yeah, they were. And D-Wade.
When D-Wade was there, stop saying they won't do it. Stop saying they won't do it.
Marcus Howard.
But
yes, when Marcus Howard, they were watching it. But no, Shaka is a good coach. He was a good coach. He did like what most people they buy the crack.
He was a good coach.
People smoke that Texas
financed team in America.
No,
you can't win a tournament game.
No, you probably, but because you know. Hold it. No, because who's winning at Texas other than Mac Brown? And Mac Brown had to get him with the banana.
Rick Barnes.
Barnes ain't really. What the Barnes end up doing?
Tom Pender, stop it! You know the game.
They win it. They ain't win over it. They win it. Lately.
Dude, like I said again, I want them to succeed, but look at the track record.
Look at Texas. Texas is overrated, man. Texas is overrated. Basketball, you can win. Basketball is about finding who you are as a coach and do it. When Jay Wright stopped recruiting power. 5 stars totally. He started winning. He realized I'm gonna get the kind of players I want to have in my program. That's what
he understood the game with the one and done. The game changed.
I think Shaka realized that too. I'm not dealing with this. So I wouldn't bet against him.
Should never gone there. Like
so we got all right.
VCU would have been perfect.
You made your point. Let me get the
only game in town.
Let me get the other guys in here. Hank, Shaka. Over Mark.
Listen, okay, what have we seen, boys and girls, with the University of Texas and black coaches?
Yeah.
Okay, Charlie Strong, Shaka Smart. See, the thing that I don't like is the fact is that once they leave there, all of a sudden they done forgot how to coach.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily subscribe to that point of view.
Well, they have Charlie Strong though, so that's a bad analogy.
But no, it's not a bad analogy. Charlie Strong, he
got fired at UCF.
But my point is he wasn't even there. I mean, at UCF he was doing okay.
He won 11 games.
Yeah,
but
my point is, I said, but you see, this is the thing. You ain't got to keep qualifying. If you win, you win it.
You win it.
Okay. Unless you're more melanated than somebody else. All right. And the thing is about Texas is the fact is, first of all, they're never going to consider themselves to be a basketball school anyway. All right. And then there's more politics down there than in Washington, D.C. So I applaud him for going back to his roots and doing what he wants to do. And obviously, he wants to be able to coach the way he wants to be able to coach. You can't do that in a place like Texas. Okay, that's why they're turning over coaches there all the time. All right, because you got more people who got more influence on that program. You can just see it with the football program as well as with the basketball program. I'm not going to sit here and say Shaka Smart wasn't bad. He lost. Guess what? He's not the only coach to lose to in a first round. Hell, Virginia lost the worst loss in the college
and they
basketball
came back and won
history,
the chip.
and came
They
back
came
and
back
won
and
the
won the
national
chip.
championship. So it happens. This is there was more
He
going
went
on there.
tournament game, Hank. I mean, I love my brothers, but he went one game, bro. He went a tournament game.
He's
Okay,
won tournament. Hold on, but he's won tournament games.
Not one.
But he also went. He also went from the first four to the final four.
That was 11 years ago, bro.
But he still did it.
I still that coach 11 years ago.
He still did it, and he won a whole bunch of games. That's how he got the job. So it ain't like he forgot.
We'll see, man. Marquette is a tough place. Tough place. I know the alums. There's run down, but the fan base. Their fan base is bananas because it's the only game in town.
But let me say this. Okay, he was at VCU and he won there. Okay, so now he's going back to what he's accustomed to. Okay, with a Marquette, and if he can do if he does at Marquette what he did at VCU, then he's going to be embraced. All right,
Richmond and Milwaukee are different cities, bro. And also,
listen,
Milwaukee's a rough city for brothers, man.
I get that.
You get off the 2-game losing streak.
But he grew up in Wisconsin. He know what he's dealing with.
He grew up in Pittsburgh. He didn't grow up on 6 and Keith.
But that's all right.
You know what 6 and Keith is, don't you? He didn't grow up 6 and Keith.
But it don't matter. But he'll be able to recruit 6 and Keith. So let's go back. So Darnell, he's going to succeed. I know he's going to succeed at Marquette. I mean, that part I think there's a reason why he did what he did. I think he's going to be all right.
He's going to get fired. That's why.
All right, Darnell. All right, Darnell. You hoping for that? I don't understand.
No, I see.
But because you make it, we're not going to get it. Let me get Darnell in here. Because Darnell, come on, talk to me about what you see.
Man,
no film tape. No film tape.
Just no film.
Yeah, don't have no film tape. I need to see a Shaka's fro.
I can't really
new fro now.
I can't really make a whole bunch of excuses for him because
thank you.
They haven't been getting it done. But one thing I do know about college basketball and college sports in general, you can win at these smaller markets, at these smaller places like Northwestern in football, like in Wisconsin in Wisconsin in football.
Basketball too.
Gonzaga.
We won a first round game. He didn't. So
I'm saying you can win at these small. Like him going to Marquette is not going to be that. It's not going to be like, oh, he's falling off the face of the earth. You know what I'm saying? He's still going to be able to recruit there. He's still going to be able to build the program he wants to build. It's just is he going to produce? And if he can produce like he did at VCU, then he's going to be loved. He's going to be accepted there. But if he doesn't, it could go bad. But it's on him.
And we'll see. And then Mike Woodson went to Indiana, and as one person say, if you can take the New York Knicks and win 2 playoff series with them, you can coach. And Mike Woodson's always been the guy who they had to bring in to save it. He's never had a chance to really just build it. He's always been. So he's an interesting person at Indiana. But Indiana's another one of them places that it's a tough place to go because of I think Hammer, you hit it up. It's a tough place to go because they got some unrealistic expectations as well in terms of their coaches. And so I don't know where that one's going to go, but those are 2 hires right now.
They fired a brother that was in the final game of the tournament. I mean, Mike Davis fired.
Yes.
Awful, man. So and then Kelvin Sampson got there. He got in trouble, but again, like I said, I wish Mike well, but I just don't see, like I said, he's never been into the college game, but sometimes these out of the box hires work. So we'll see. I mean, Larry Brown did well at SMU before he retired. So I mean, but the thing about it, that they want the Indiana, family. This brother, like I said, it's 45 years ago, and they living like it's 1976.
And which 20?
I mean, it's 2021. I mean, they talking about Gonzaga. Now all of a sudden the fans like, well, we can be like Gonzaga. No. That was 45 years ago. Scott May, Big Ken Benson, Quinn Buckner, Mike Whitson, we name all. But that was 45 years ago. But again, like I said, don't have me out here talking about. I want my brothers to succeed, but I just, like I said, with Mike, it's just like, wow. He's 63 years old too. It's just,
We're not gonna have no ageism up in here. All right, Hank. You watch.
Ageism is just how do you relate to players? D. Will.
All right. Let me hear. Hey, you've been watching Indiana for a long time from the Michigan side. That's those rivalries. What do you think here? And
here's the problem.
Go ahead. Say.
I'm gonna say here's the problem with Indiana, and we hit on it, but it's absolutely right. They've got this thing like they're still it in college basketball, and they're not. Okay, since Smart hit that shot and they beat Ronnie Cycli and them in Syracuse, it's just it's been up and down. Like I said, like Mike Davis when he was there, he had it going on. He had to go. And Woodson is a good coach. He really is a good coach. He was here in Detroit for a little while with the Pistons, as an assistant. I'm concerned though, being at Indiana. Okay. Indiana is that program that gets a coach as they're constantly looking for the next one. Yeah. I thought Tom
that's a great way to frame it.
Yeah. I thought Tom Crean was doing a good job there. Okay, but they're looking for their next coach because it's like to them.
They got the next coach. They got the next coach on campus right now. So
that's my point.
That's they got Thad Matta as an assistant AG of basketball.
And my whole thing is, when are you going to give a coach a chance to go ahead and build his program, have its ups and downs? And Indiana hasn't done that. Okay, Indiana believes every year that they should win the Big Ten. They're as bad as Michigan in football. They think they should win the Big Ten every year. They think they should be playing for the national championship. They're just not as talented as some of the other teams in the Big Ten. And the Big Ten has changed, shifted. It's shifted since Bobby Knight left.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is their problem. And they are more delusional in basketball than Michigan is in football. And this is the problem. And I'm just being real about that. I've seen it. I saw it. I'm like, okay, y'all just running through coaches now. And you expect to have some consistency when the Big Ten is getting stronger and stronger every year.
So, hey, who's more delusional in your mind? Indiana basketball, Texas basketball? I almost say Indiana basketball, Texas football, but Indiana basketball.
I think you got to go,
or just Texas.
You got to go with Indiana basketball because see, Texas thinks it's a football powerhouse. That's what it thinks. Okay, and any other sport outside of baseball at the University of Texas is an afterthought. Okay, even though they've had some incredible players come through that school, on the hoop side, they think they're a football powerhouse. So, but Indiana, like Hammer said, they think this is 1976. They think this is 1980 something. They think Bobby Knight is about to get out. He's going to get up, out the retirement home and come throw a chair across the court. This is what they think. Those years are gone. They've had a couple of coaches that could have probably brought them back to some prominence, but they didn't give them a shot.
They fired him, though.
That's what I'm saying. They got rid of him.
They should try to get Izzo. He'll yell at him.
They try to get Brad Stevens. All of them turned him down. They know it's a bad job.
They
I'd rather get fired by the Celtics. It might happen. So, yeah.
All right. We killed this one. Let's kill this one. Well, before I get to a little bit of the NBA, one of the things that we begin to see is at this time of year there's been a proliferation of like the transfer portal. And it was exchanged with Game Changer. One thing he's pointed out, and I've actually seen this up close and personal. So there's this narrative about part of this is we got this AAU culture, right? People just switch and stuff like that. And that's part of a narrative. But there's this other part that people aren't paying attention. That's one of the things he was at least seeing on the women's side. I've seen on the women's side and the men's side. There is this way of beginning. People are managing their programs and the rosters where they're really managing around 5 to 7 players. And they're managing them not only in the games, but in the practice. So in terms of people actually getting access to be playing and developing their games in practice, if you look at it, and a lot of teams, especially if you look on the women's side, a lot of times they're using men's scout teams. So then if you on the sideline, people get most of the reps are the people who are going to play. So that's one of the elements that you see in the women's game. And so if somebody sets their roster, even in practice reps and game reps, you really get isolated. So then players are making decisions. The fact that I'm not even getting reps in practice. And you start to see some of that on the men's side. So some of this is about how coaches are managing or not managing rosters. And you see a lot of that engagement of coaches who know effectively how to manage from the bottom of the roster to the other part of the roster. Then you also got the AAU part of it. But there's some elements in here that I want to unpack. And now you have what we call, as Marcus pointed out last time, is you got the double freshman class and you got the double senior class because of how they've done eligibility here. This portal is going to be popping. That's what I'm going to say. I mean, you're already seeing names popping up on that portal right now. I mean, both on the women's side and the men's side. How has this thing changed the game? And the NCAA is already looking at even freeing up transfer restrictions even more right now in the face of all the pushback they're getting on what's happening with restrictions around athletes. What have y'all been thinking about all this stuff that's been happening with the portal and how you're hearing it even on in throughout the tournament? You're seeing what's happening, how teams have actually been building their teams as a result of this portal. But what's been some of your opinions about what you've been seeing with the portal and what you see is causing it and how you might want to address it? I'll start with maybe Darnell in terms of the portal life.
Well, yeah, you hit on the fact of the rotations. I've been saying this about Coach K for a while. Even when like Marvin Bagley and them was there, Coach K only plays like 6 or 7 guys, maybe 8, but he has a short bench, and you see that with a lot of schools. That's one reason why I like watching Leonard Hamilton and Juwan Howard. They use the bench. They use ninth guy on the bench, eighth and ninth guy on the bench. But the transfer portal has been hopping, and you're gonna see this in a lot of sports this year, especially with the eligibility rules. The seniors can come back, and you saw with today, yesterday, Rocket Watts is in the transfer portal from Michigan State. He's gonna he has Max Christie on his heels at guard, a 5-star coming in. You got Jaden Akins coming in, and you know the minutes, the rotations are gonna, there's not enough spots for all of them. So let's just put it that way. So he's going to be out the door, and you're going to see that at other programs as well. So it's something interesting to look at.
Yeah, and you see how some of these coaches have really worked hard to try to start managing these relationships, because they got to manage that stuff because it makes it even more volatile. Hammer, transfer portal.
It has nothing to do with what y'all talked about. It has to do with the instant gratification of culture with these young people. And I think the pandemic has exacerbated that. People realize the finality of life and the fact that, we know people sadly passed away of COVID and just the chaos that happened the last year. And you got to get it now. And so you ain't going to sit behind, you'll be Frank Kaminsky and sit behind and play a couple minutes and then build yourself. You don't go to another program and get your minutes because you know that you languish on the bench and you're not getting any run. You have no chance at even getting overseas, let alone getting the G League and NBA. So, and all these players, and the bottom line, they don't want to sit on the bench. You talk about the AAU circuit. That's really more the pretext of this, or the context of this, because the fact is that, these kids are used to, running game, and they gonna sit on the bench for Coach K. No, I'm gonna transfer with Quentin Grimes with Houston. Started off at Auburn, and then he like, no. And Pearl didn't give him no run. He went to Houston. Houston's in the Final Four, first time since Phi Sigma Gamma. So, I mean, you gotta get yours. That's what this is about. The transfer portal is
play right now.
Yeah, Giants youth. Yeah, I mean, you gotta get yours. You can't sit around and think about what might be. I talk about that. What might be. It was like what it is, and that's the main thing you gotta do. And so you gotta get yours, because these are, I mean, again, these college programs, it used to be, you have the 1-year renewable stuff like that, but at Wisconsin, for example, they don't stand saying this publicly, but Coach Gar sat down with Cass, they're like, it's over, bro. It's over, Micah. It's over, Brad. Y'all gone. And the reason why he wants to strip down, do a young team, he can mold, and then he can sell some wolf tickets and stay a couple more years, and he should stay, especially with a new AD coming in Wisconsin. And that's the job with that. He didn't want to come back with the super seniors for another year, especially the fact that they regressed. All of them regressed. You got Trice at 25 years old, playing like he's 15. So, I mean, that's the main thing about it, is that you gotta get yours. And so
but part of the point, but part of the point you're making is also a coaching point. And I think what you hear a lot of it is you have folks who are passive aggressive in their communication, very transactional. And in that world, I'm gonna do what you do, right? If I can't trust what you say, then I'm gonna do what you're doing. So I do think there are some pieces in how coaches are managing, because there are teams that folks aren't all transferring from those teams.
Yeah, but they have a different culture.
Yeah, so we're talking about the word culture. We talk about culture.
He was at Stephen F. Austin, then went to Oklahoma State in 1 year. Oklahoma State program. They jumps to Illinois, and then he loses to Loyola in the second round, which I told y'all he's going to do. So because he can't coach. So the main thing is that the coaches jump around, and so the players are going to jump around. So I mean, these and like I said, these players have been cultivated. Like I know, like I said, Jalen Johnson's father, and Jalen shut it down. It's just like he didn't. Every time he played, he was going down the draft board. It made no sense. Shut it down. But I told you about Westbrook. I saw Westbrook play. This is a business decision. I saw him glide in the way, and I was like, bruh, you need to get on the bench with Coach Lavin and tell him, like, I'm going to NBA. I'll see you later, so I don't blow my knee out. I have like that brother from Louisville or something. A brother that broke his leg severely, something like that,
And I applaud a lot of that, but I do think it's I think the programs who don't see that much volatility, there's something else going on. They're doing something that
you have a culture, D-Will.
Culture. That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying that culture does help, right? And so that means who controls culture? Coaches control.
Yeah, but the culture is because of the program. It's because you're gonna have very few players going to be the one and dones. I mean. And it's fluid. It's fluid.
It is fluid, but the volatility, right? Yeah, but I'm saying the volatility.
Mark Few wasn't recruiting cats like Sabonis's kid or Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, but
Cats realized. Cats looked at his game and they're like, his game translates to the modern day NBA. I'm going to Gonzaga, and also they know too. They're like, I'll be a Spokane. I ain't getting in trouble. I'll be the king of the town. Ain't nothing else in town. I'm gonna concentrate on hoops. Some studying, don't get me wrong, some studying, but hoops. And that's what they're gonna do. And so
that means if you can do it in Spokane, it can be done. All right, go. Let me get that on it. Yep.
I would argue that this is kind of the way it's always been, but just now they have more ability. There's more mobility. You can leave more easier now than you could before. Like back when, I'm gonna go back to the same team I talked about earlier, that 2017 Duke team with Marvin Bagley. When Trevon Duval, he was at point guard. The next year, they had Trey Jones coming in. He was either going to transfer. Trevon Duval was either going to transfer, or you going to try to enter your name in the draft because you're not coming back because Trey Jones going to start. That's just the way it's always been at these programs.
And one thing about in the pioneer who's been in the news lately, who's also might be in the back page of the transfer portal of all sports, is Russell Wilson. He changed the game.
Yeah,
so he changed the game. He was supposed to sit behind Mike Glennon and smile and then play some baseball. He's like, no, I'm going to Wisconsin. They're like, Wisconsin? He balled out.
Oh, wait a minute.
Round, rest history.
You brought up something that I have to address. I have to address this. So you're telling me Russell Wilson couldn't beat out Mike Glennon?
He could beat out Mike. They were gonna let him, dude. They were gonna let him.
But that again, that's a coach's thing. But it's back. That's a coach's thing. So he realized.
Yeah, he got fired too. He got fired.
Yeah, right. So coaches.
Coach O'Brien got a job.
Yeah. So coaches have.
I ain't saying Mike Glennon beat him out.
Hank, you didn't even comment on this conversation.
I'm just letting y'all just go for
a minute. Go ahead. Bring it home.
There's a few things that y'all ain't thought about, y'all haven't talked about. And you're right, it's culture, it's coaches, and it's the players. But then there's this other little ugly thing that goes on too, and it's tampering. And see, nobody talks about that because that would be big news. But if you got an open transfer portal, it's easy for you to go and get a player who is a happy starter for a team, and you can still recruit that kid because of the transfer portal. These are things that they're not talking about. But you know what happened. All of a sudden, if someone is paying the starters, Help me understand how somebody who's a starter for your team, they get in the minutes, they get in the reps, and then
Rocket Watts is a great example.
And they end up in the transfer portal.
Yep.
And then weeks later, I'm talking about legitimately weeks later, they've got another school they're going to, and no one looks at that. I said, wait a minute, how is it that you are a part of this? You are a part of this future. This is what you can. And here's the other piece nobody talks about. They talk about culture. You know what the culture is before you sign your letter of intent. That's why you choose to go there. You don't talk to those coaches. You don't talk to those position coaches, those coaches who have talked to you as you've gone through all these recruiting trips and said what goes on at university of such and such. And you choose to put your name on a dotted line and go to school there. And then you get some of these kids that's playing, that's getting time. They're literally getting time. You can see their development. And lo and behold, I'm hitting the transfer portal. And no one said, what just happened? And the coaches are like, I don't know. I don't know. And see, they want to say it's the coach's fault or the kids. Now, I can understand that one that's not getting no minutes. Okay, they're not. And see, as far as Darnell is absolutely right. That has always been the case. Okay, if somebody came in better than you, it was your job to outwork them, to get back on the field. If you didn't, you sat next to the coach, period. That's just the way it was. That's how you grew up here back in the day. All right, you don't let nobody take your job. You got to outwork them. Now it's like, well, they looking at him. I'm just going to bust up. I don't like that, number one. But the other piece is, again, I'm just going to say it again. How can someone who's playing, starting, all of a sudden fall out of sorts so bad that I'm going to go somewhere else, and they got another school they're going through that quick? That to me is the dirty little secret behind the transfer portal.
It's a talent that they're just stacking talent, and also, but it's not really tampering, Hank. I mean, all these kids have had relationships with all the top coaches in America. So if they're unhappy,
you gonna tell me
they'll remember where.
You gonna tell me there's no tampering going on? You gonna sit here and tell me that everything you talk about, you're a lawyer. You gonna sit here and tell me there's no tampering going on with that?
You're being
you wouldn't raise that
semantical.
suspicion?
I'll put it this way: yeah, there's tampering, but it's not the tampering you're talking about, where people, all of them are doing it. So
they never stop recruiting those kids, even though
I agree. They should, because
that's
the fact is, it's an arms race, right? I mean, Hank, it's an arms race, and so I'm gonna get more weapons than you get. Plain and simple.
But the part about this, the reason why it happens the way it happens is because of the way coaches act. When you decide to go, they block you. When you decide to go, so there's a lot of things that coaches do.
Bo did that guy. I remember that guy.
These players fear, and what ends up happening is they work through intermediaries. They work through their former coach. They work through their AAU coach to get a feel for it. Because once you do it, even though they're not supposed to strip things away from you, they begin to strip things away from you. They begin to limit your time in the facility. They begin to start taking away your resources while you're on campus. They begin to harass you or not. Like, there's things that happen to these kids on campuses that force this to happen that way. I mean, that's the way this game is played. So that's why these kids are like that, because they see the retaliation. They saw what happened, kid, where they took everybody off the list in the Big Ten, going to Iowa,
Wisconsin. He got embarrassed on Mike and Mike. Should have been.
When he did that, because folks, these coaches wield this power on you. They start to because part of it is then they start to put off this whole narrative about you, because it's all about keeping the brand. So that's why these kids navigate the way they navigate, because they got to kind of know, because things will start to happen bad to them in those spaces. And they wouldn't do it that way. Is that where it happened with everybody? That's what ends up happening. That's how they feel about it. So part of it is they're navigating because this is how the system's set up, right? This is how it is. And they have conversations, just like Hammer said, where coaches are saying to you, don't look to have this next year, because they're not tied to that renewable contract. Now, what I would say is part of the problem is most of these kids don't have what I call the Roxanne Shante attitude. Allow them to pay you to get what you're supposed to get. So if you're going to be there for 7 to 8 years, get you a PhD. Get as close to it as you can and make them pay.
Just do it.
They don't know the hustle like that. They're thinking about the game in the wrong way, and that's why they're missing out on it. And that's why I think renewable contracts renewable scholarships across the board are important, because it holds everybody tighter in this mix. But these non-renewables, people are going to operate this way. But this is a great conversation.
Because last thing I'll say, like I was studying Stanford when Denny did the cut in all the non-renewables. I'm like, y'all cutting cash from Stanford. I looked at that in our Stanford Daily. I'm like, this dude's ruthless. You cutting cash from Stanford, and with no scholarship, and you came from the hood, that means you gone. You ain't gonna get no loans at Stanford. You gonna be back home.
Back home.
Yeah.
And that's
said, I'm gonna send you back to the hood.
That's what Denny said, those cats. All these brothers, he's like, I'm sending you back to the hood. You ain't you go from Palo Alto to the hood.
All right. Well, I was gonna talk some NBA, but we're gonna keep this on some college basketball. Let's talk
a little NBA. No, let's talk a little NBA.
Well, we
talk about these. Let's talk about how Stephen A. talk about the Brooklyn Nets, how they have won the championship now.
It hurts me. The only thing I appreciate about that is Jeannie Buss like bring it on. I love Jeannie. Jeannie like come get some, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets. If you talk about an AAU setup, that's AAU. All right, Hammer, I'll let you go, and then I'm gonna go to Darnell.
It's not AAU when you bring in Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge as role players, and we're not talking about the cats from 2014. We're talking about the cats from 2021. They're gonna be good role players, but the Harden trade. That's one thing. I mean, being a Bucks fan, the Bucks blew it. They should have gotten a better player than Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday's not gonna move the needle. James Harden's gonna move the needle, and they should have tried to do something with get James Harden. So
it's still regular season,
especially the lack of defense
playoff basketball.
NBA too. Go ahead.
It's still regular season basketball versus playoff basketball. So I'm not quite sure the Brooklyn thing the story is done because the style works. The style works in March on a back-to-back and a lot of that stuff. But does it work in the playoffs when I can set my defense and I know I got to play? I'm still not sold on that on Brooklyn, but we'll see. You might be right. They could have made the move, but I'm not sure if that's going to translate.
Milwaukee messed up, man. They messed up with Bogdanovic. They messed up. They just I think I like the move that they PJ Tucker move was great. Good move.
I like those moves. I mean,
that's the move. But it's not enough though, D. Wills. I mean,
but I think the problem they have is defensively is what Marcus said is that when you got a defense that it's easy for people to read because of the way you got to play it with Lopez. I mean, people can read that already, right? But
it wasn't like that last year. I mean, fundamentally, something's wrong with the defense, man. Because I saw the Wizards game. I'm like, y'all gave 130 to Wizards without Bradley Beal. That's criminal. Dude. Yeah,
but
nobody should have been paid that game.
But you also have one of your better defenders down there playing in Indiana. So you've lost some things that you thought you could get away with. That some of these guys weren't really stuff, but it's still playoffs to come. All right, Darnell, we said.
I said teams figure stuff out when they get more tape.
Yeah. And if Giannis got to shoot in the playoffs like he tried to shoot loose in the regular season. He'll pull up on that 3 on Thursday night in October.
But he's on them Thursday.
But he'll get. He still had the same open shot in the playoffs. He won't shoot it.
Right, they'll leave him wide open.
Yeah, so the shot's there. He's just not taking it. So
he's not taking it.
Doing that, then it's the game. The game not going to open up for him. So, but the Nets. I'm glad we put it. What I do like is what Jeannie said. Jeannie said, bring it on. And so Darnell, was she right to say bring it on? I mean, I got to respect her. I got to respect game. She got that West Coast on us.
I mean, the Lakers, they look like they have a clear plan as for how they're going to play this. They have their big lineup, and they're going to stick with that. They know the Nets, they can't out-rebound them. Even though if the Lakers, they might not be able to get into a shootout with the Nets because nobody really can. Because you have Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving, it's hard to outscore that team. But if you can control the glass,
Joe Harris too.
You can control the possessions and limit the amount of possessions to control the game that way, and just say, okay, I got my go-to play, pick and roll, throw the alley to Drummond or AD. Or if you try to collapse on that, I'm kicking out to Wes Matthews. They can control the game that way. And,
KCP, yeah,
KCP. But yeah, they can try to control the game that way. They have a clear plan, and I think Drummond, he's gonna help them tread water a little bit while they're trying to get AD back.
Yeah, and the Nets remind me of that Laker team that got Malone and a lot of those guys. They were scoring, but they never quite got their defense right. And when they met up against those Pistons, they realized we need a championship defense. At some point, you got to make stops, and they just hadn't committed. And what I'm nervous about, if I were them, is KD hasn't played enough. They don't have enough continuity, and there's nobody there that they don't have enough to get stops. And they might not need those stops until they get to the finals, but they might need that stops in game 6 and 7 to get the Lakers. And they don't have it. Whereas the Lakers have continuity. And I think they can get stops. And I think a lot of people talk about the scoring, but at the end of the day, it comes down to getting stops. You got to be able to get 4 or 5 stops. I have less confidence that Brooklyn get 4 or 5 stops than I do the Lakers. And I think that's where it's going to come down to, just like it did for those Laker teams. Everybody looking at the names on the back of the jerseys. Everybody's looking at all the stats. Everybody's looking at all that stuff. But when it came down to it, they're like, Chauncey them gave them that business, because at a certain point, you got to be able to get them stops. You got to be able to get it. And it's still true today. It don't change. It's still like, and the Lakers have been one of the better defensive teams in the league, if not the best, in getting those stops. And I think it helps with that.
Yeah, looking at the trade deadline, what do you think about the Nuggets move when they got Aaron Gordon?
That was a bad move. Why you get Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. like the same player?
Did you see the game? Did you watch their first game?
I didn't watch the game. What, they play well together or what?
Yeah, they play. The thing is,
well, I mean, Porter's a great talent. Porter's a great talent. I just
the thing with that is Jokic is always going to be the glue player. He's the playmaker. He's the guy.
Unless they don't sign him though, he got one more year in his deal, right?
We're talking about the playoffs this year. Jokic is gonna facilitate. He's gonna keep the offense moving. He decides who eats, and everybody's gonna eat with Jokic in the game. So
all right, Hank, bring some reason to this. Bring some reason to this. You've been watching a lot of basketball.
Am I not making sense?
You are making sense. But we need Hank to put a button.
Okay, now where we going? We going back to the Lakers now?
Let's so Jeannie Buss says what she got to say. You know, you got to stare down on the coast right now. You got the Lakers over here. You got you got Brooklyn popping over here.
Well, here's
they're gonna be in the middle.
Here's what I see. I think that the Lakers are coming from a position of strength and luxury. See, they're going to get Andre Drummond as an insurance policy. Okay, they're not getting anybody they're not filling any holes per se outside of AD. And if AD comes back in any semblance, then they're going to be fine. You know, if they, the teams that's in the West right now that might give them some fits, it's almost a foregone conclusion they're coming out the West. All right. I like what Brooklyn has done. Like I said, they didn't pick me up, but I was trying since they was picking up everybody else. But I like what they're trying to do. If any of those guys got anything in the tank, but you make a valid point when you start talking about continuity. Now, the Blake Griffin, if he can stay healthy and stay on the floor, that's a great shot blocker for you. You know, they're trying to get big down in the paint. They've got to stop the drive to the paint that the Lakers have. I know what they're trying to do, and they're trying to get some guys that can be some sort of defensive presence, because you're not going to get nothing out of James Harden. At least, and granted, I've heard you all say he's playing better defense now, but it's not the playoffs, okay? And what does AD really look like going into that? And Kyrie, they've got to find that team chemistry. Absolutely right. They've got the names on the back that looks pretty impressive. So I like what they've done as trying to stockpile. All right, and Jeannie Buss said we've already won. We've already got a chip with this crew. And the only thing we're doing is just fortifying the bench and preparing for something that we're already going to do. Bring it on, because you guys have got a long way to go, because you're basically a brand new team that you've taken the rest of this regular season trying to figure out, and we've already done it. So I applaud her on that. But that's Jeannie Buss.
All right.
Didn't James Harden give you a series winning stop in the playoffs last year?
Who was it?
Didn't James Harden give you a series winning stop last year in the playoffs against Oklahoma City? When he blocked the shot in the corner.
One.
Yeah.
He got,
a blind squirrel finds a nut. Yeah.
Exactly. A broken clock is right twice a day.
He had enough attempts. I'm glad he got one. Out of their playoff game. So I will say that I will
playing better defense this year.
He played better. And James is, but it's about continuity of defense. It's not just James playing defense. And do you trust Nash and D'Antoni? Those are defensive juggernaut coaches. Like, do you trust them to come up with a concept?
I think it's a different game, D. Wills. I mean, I see NBA.
No, see, everybody talks about that, but everybody talks about that. But even when the Golden State Warriors were good, what made them good is they were good. They were a top 10 team.
Yeah, that was 3-4 years ago.
They made stop defense still.
No defense.
The Lakers won. The Lakers had the best defense.
Carl,
the best team won.
That's not true, Carl.
Man,
my goodness.
You look at the Lakers.
You're 25 years old.
Last year, no, the year
before. 25 years old. You ain't seen no defense. You ain't seen no defense. They used to. Your team, the Pistons, they used to whoop people.
I'm saying,
and again, like I said, we used to get whooped before we got titles. We got whooped by the Pistons. This defense now is with it Matador, Olay. That's what it is.
But you still got the championship team. Still got to make stops. You got to make stops.
You got to make certain stops, strategic stops.
I need to do a film in basketball.
You can't tell me that the offensive part of the game is totally dominating defense right now. And you have such great offensive power right now. These kids shoot so well that. You can almost
that part is true.
It's like if you're
but you still got to play D. If that's true, then D'Antoni. If that's true, then D'Antoni would have a championship by now.
No, but
why does he have a championship?
Steve Nash.
Why does he have Steve Nash? So now Steve Nash is a great coach. Now Steve Nash is awesome.
I think Steve Nash is a good coach. Yeah.
Now Steve Nash is based on what? I thought you were using evidence. Like you always come here with evidence. What evidence is?
Yeah, evidence is they're playing great, aren't they? Since they got hurt.
They're playing great, but that don't make you a great coach until you get the ring. There's a lot of stuff that you can roll the ball out.
Right, you gotta give.
East. You talk about you talk about the East with a hurt Embiid. You talking about it with a Boston team.
Embiid's always hurt, so it
doesn't. But you talk about a Boston team that's subpar and had injuries. Like what are you talking about, man?
They hurt all year. Yeah, they get hurt all year.
You killing me. Until you prove it, you ain't winning. Like he's not.
I think it'll be proven.
I'm not going to anoint him a great coach, but we didn't even give Mike Woodson a credit for getting them crazy dicks to get 2 rounds and winning. And we're gonna give Steve Nash great coach status, and he ain't even done that.
Steve Nash gonna be in the finals.
Come on, man. Yeah, but he's gonna be in the finals not because he's Steve Nash, because he got.
Hey, Mike Brown went to the finals.
So you gotta give him credit of him first.
I'm not giving him nothing.
Let me finish.
I'm not giving him anything. If we're not giving these other cats
X and O's,
but so we're gonna give him all this stuff. Your evaluation of coaches are flawed.
Steve Nash is a coach.
Your evaluation of coaches are flawed. We're giving Steve Nash all
stuff. I saw Phil Jackson. I know about
years ago was not about X's and O's. Had nothing to do with X's and O's. Nick Nurse. When they beat the Bucks 4 straight games, nothing about X's and O's.
He coached better than Casey. Coach much better than Casey.
No, I'm saying you said coaching is nothing about X's and O's.
It's about X and O's. I said it's about X and O's.
Oh, I thought you said it's about relationships. It's not about X's and O's.
I said relationships and X and O's. I said both.
But he has no evidence. You giving him all this stuff and he ain't proved nothing. See, this is what I'm talking about. You'll be critical on these other coaches.
When they hold up that Larry O'Brien trophy, we're gonna have to show, and then I'll be like. Bet.
But that ain't gonna be on.
Like I told you, Illinois is gonna lose, right? Did I tell you that?
I'm gonna tell you
Y'all laughed at me.
I would say Woodson probably.
Did I tell you that?
I think Woodson probably could coach this team to a championship.
All y'all game changer. All y'all had Illinois win the chip.
Like I said about a blind squirrel. It applies there. All right, we're gonna go to Hank to drop the mic. Hank, you gotta take us home, man. You came back to this. You might go back to moving again.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm going to try out for somebody else, man. Y'all keep this up. I'm telling y'all the truth. But you know what? It felt good. It felt good to be around you guys. I'm looking at the younger. There I am. How y'all doing? You know, it's good to be back with everybody. I kind of missed everyone, but you know, a lot has happened in the last couple of weeks since I've been gone. I know old Uncle Joe gave everybody some money and to take care of the business. So I need to come in here and be y'all financial advisors. A lot of stuff that's going on out here, and I don't want y'all to blow y'all cash on nothing stupid. Okay, I've been around the block a little bit, so I want to help you kind of, some of you young folks out there. I don't want you to just go out there and take your little stimmy and just start blowing it and start doing stuff that you're going to regret. Okay, so just listen to me for a minute, all right? Because today I found a little Nas X came out with these Satan Nikes. They're supposed to have real blood in it. He's selling them for $1,000 or something like that. Don't spend your money on that, okay? Don't spend your money, that kind of money, on no pair of shoes. Okay, you go step in the mud, they ain't no good, and it's got somebody else's blood in it, you're gonna catch something. Don't spend your money on nothing like that, okay? And don't even try to go a little lower, okay? Don't go out here out the Payless shoe source and get you a pair of a big baller brands. Don't get none of them either. I know they ain't but $400 and something, but don't spend your good hard-earned, you know, stimmy on no foolishness like that, okay? For y'all out there that like to bet and stuff like that, don't run to DraftKings and stuff to get the odds on whether Tiger Woods is going to play in this year's Masters. He ain't going to be there. So don't spend your money on none of that neither, okay? Don't do no foolishness like that. And for you fighting fans, I heard this today, for love of God, don't spend none of your hard-earned money on no pay-per-view for no Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield. I found out that they trying to put that out there together. For Jesus Christ's name, don't do that to yourself. The last time these two fellas fought, when they was in their prime, Mike bit off Holyfield's ear. He can't even wear a mask in the midst of COVID no more. Don't spend your money on no foolishness like that. Okay, save your money. Do something good. If you really got that, if that money is burning a hole in your pocket, and you got to spend your money to see two heavyweights get it on tomorrow night on HBO Max, King Kong is going to go against Godzilla. You want to spend some time to figure it out, check that out. Spend money. If you want to spend your money to watch them two heavyweights. That's a classic fight I can't wait to see. I need to keep it light for y'all, so y'all keep it light with me. Peace out.